Hi, my name is April Donovan. I'm going to tell my wild and weird story to raise awareness for brain injury, as March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. How do you get a brain injury? There's a lot of ways that include blunt force trauma to your head and also diseases, tumors, exposure to toxins, or oxygen deprivation. One way of getting a brain injury is by missing a turn on a motorcycle in a tunnel in Austria and crashing headlong into the tunnel wall. That's how I got my brain injury. I was on a 3-week dual sport motorcycle trip around Morocco, and I wrote the travel itinerary for our group of 5 riders. And on the first day of our ride from Klein-Walsertal, Austria, we were 5 bikes weaving in and out of traffic in a rainstorm. I was riding a Yamaha Tenere 700, which I totaled into the tunnel wall when I did not turn, but the tunnel turned. I was rescued by helicopter to Innsbruck, Austria, where I was in a coma for 10 days. I was hospitalized for a month where I was injured to the point where I had to relearn how to use a spoon. So as you can see, I've come a long way. But the hard part is that even though I look normal on the outside, I'm not normal, and I'm not the same person who I was before September 23rd, 2018, when I suffered a traumatic brain injury. Through my brain injury recovery over the last 6.5 years, I've come into contact with a lot of brain injured people. We've all had very different life experiences and very different accidents that caused our brain injury, but we all experience similar symptoms and life problems. One of my counterparts in long-term intensive therapy was a roofer who fell off of a 4-story building one day at work. Another guy was the CFO of a company and had a massive stroke and lost his ability to speak. One gentleman was a construction foreman who had a heart attack from COVID, and oxygen deprivation caused his brain injury. A 19-year-old girl was out for a jog and got hit by a car. The most important thing to know about a brain injury is that survivors have a hidden disability. Brain injury leads to complex and long-term consequences like permanent cognitive deficits, increased irritability, difficulty managing emotions, sudden mood swings, aggression, apathy, social withdrawal, impulsivity, obsessive behaviors, and difficulty understanding social cues. I can attest to personality changes after a brain injury. Many brain injury symptoms like vision problems can be invisible to others, even doctors and therapists, which makes it even more challenging to diagnose and manage. My visual memory is weak. It's very easy for me to get lost in a new place. I have photo albums on my phone of hallways, doors, elevators, so that I can retrace my steps. It's also hard for me to follow conversations, and I tend to repeat myself a lot since my short-term memory is lacking. I lack depth perception. So when I stand at the top of a flight of stairs and look down, I don't see what you see. I step down and have to trust that the world works the way it always has. I put one foot in front of the other with confidence, knowing that the next step is about 5 inches lower than the table on the edge of the stairs. Because my eyes don't work together, each eye is sending a different message to my brain, which creates massive fatigue. My day is shorter than your day. 24/7, I have double vision in my right periphery, and I always will. Double vision is disconcerting and makes me feel nauseous. Sometimes I see things that I know aren't there in my right periphery, because if your brain can't understand something, it just fills in with whatever you got laying around. It's a fabricated memory or detail to fill the gap called confabulation. 24/7, I have 3PD, also known as PPPD, which stands for persistent postural perceptual dizziness. Persistent, the symptoms are always there. Postural, the symptoms worsen when I'm upright or moving. I feel better if I never get out of bed. Perceptual, I feel it, but it's not obvious to others. Dizziness, this describes the sensation. It's like that floating feeling you get when you've had a glass of wine on an empty stomach. PPPD, or 3PD. It's a mouthful, but essentially it's a chronic condition where your brain doesn't trust the signals it's getting from your inner ear. This leads to feelings of dizziness, unsteadiness, and non-spinning vertigo that just won't quit. Living day to day with 3PD and double vision makes for a challenging quality of life. The worst place I have to go with 3PD is typically the grocery store because of visual complexity. I don't do well at all in the hardware store. I feel much better in the pillow store. Textured carpet or wallpaper is hard for me to look at, so hotels are very challenging. After my accident, I wanted to know when would I be back at work, sitting at my desk, being the boss of my advertising agency. No one could tell me. It was something that I had to find out for myself through years of intensive therapy, is that I would never be back at my job. I could never do that job again, and I never will. My memory starts about 6 months after my accident, which is already after I signed away my ownership to my business. Due to the hidden nature of brain injury, people like me may be perceived as lazy, exaggerating symptoms, or not trying hard enough. My brain injury support group, Brain Injury Connections Northwest, is great for perspective. A number of people in my group can't walk or talk. I understand that there are levels of disability, as I was recently denied in my application for Social Security disability, even though I feel like I earned it. I think the second most important thing to know about brain injury is that they are cumulative, meaning they add up. Data shows that people who have one brain injury are significantly more likely to have another brain injury. This is attributed to factors like impaired coordination and balance, making people like me more susceptible to subsequent head trauma. Also, personality type being a risk taker. Prior brain injury predisposes you to neurodegenerative diseases and other conditions, including Parkinson's disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, chronic pain, and depression. My brain injury journey is a struggle to find quality of life. My brain injury journey is finding my ability to support myself financially. I'm finding my new path that reduces visual tasks. My purpose in telling this story is to share what makes life now harder than life before my brain injury, to inspire you to protect your headpiece and be vocal about helmet safety, like wearing one to begin with, then making sure your helmet fits properly to protect your head in an accident. 3 takeaways besides wearing a properly fitting helmet are: 1, give the person next to you more grace in every situation in life. They might be doing their best. Number 2, if you know someone with a brain injury, share resources like Brain Injury Connections Northwest. 3, if you know someone with brain injury, try to understand that it's a hidden disability and the person you knew before the injury is not the same person as far as abilities, limits, or comfort levels. Thank you.